right, we are back. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah,
We haven't done the
yeah.
show, but because life gets in the way. But
hmm
we are back, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, this is fun.
This
You
this is gonna
came
be
up
a
with
fun
the
one.
concept, and yeah, I thought it was a neat concept, and it allowed me to revisit some movies I haven't seen in a minute, and a few new ones. But yeah, please, there's your idea. So hit them up with what we're doing tonight, man. Yeah, this is
Yes,
fun.
what we are doing tonight is Austin will be
hmm
ranking my top 10 in the order he would rank them, and I will
hmm
be ranking his top 10 in the order I would put them.
Yes.
So and it was good. I didn't have to do many. I had to do a couple first time watches for your list, but everything else I was already pretty high on. So it was both fun and tough
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
put the list
yours,
together.
I did one first time watch, another rewatch of something I hadn't seen in probably 15 or 20 years, and then another one just to kind of brush up on it because, again, it's just been a while. So, really, only three things I had to watch. So, not too bad, but everything else is, yeah, all stuff that I like as well or I'm very familiar with. So,
Right.
but yeah, it should be interesting because, yeah, to see where where our mindsets go to as far as these particular movies. So
Right.
should we start off by just naming the movies that are on the list in general, so people kind of get an idea, and then we'll start with our rankings. So because it's not it doesn't need to be a mystery because
No.
we don't know
No.
where they're going to rank them. You can list your top 10 in your order, and then I'll go with what I would rank them the same and vice versa. So we can do that.
Yeah, let's do that. So why don't you hit him with your top 10 real quick and
Okay, so my actual top 10. Well, to one footnote, we had one crossover, so we had to make a substitution. So I let you keep the one crossover, and I substituted my number 11 for my new number 10, quote unquote. So,
mhm.
yeah. So starting at number 10, the 1978 remake of The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Then we have Django Unchained, Wolf of Wall Street, Jurassic Park, the 1999 Brendan Fraser The Mummy, The Terminator, Jaws, Tremors, Blazing Saddles, and Aliens is my top 10 just to start. So, but yeah, we don't need to be a mystery. It's because the
No.
fun part is going to be where you rank all those movies,
Right.
and then where I rank yours. So hit them with your 10.
My top 10, which is very similar to yours.
Oh,
No.
completely similar. Yeah,
So
yeah.
starting at number 10, I have 12 Angry Men, followed by Singing in the Rain, Back to the Future, The Princess Bride coming in at number 7, Empire Strikes Back at number 6, The Lion King at number 5, Willy Wonka at number 4, Sweeney Todd at number 3, Good Will Hunting at number 2, and Mary Poppins at number 1. I believe Mary Poppins was the crossover,
Mary
right?
Poppins was the crossover. I believe I had it at 6 or 7, something like that. So yeah, I let you keep that one since you had it higher. And I substituted Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was my number 11. So
Yeah.
there you go. All right, all right,
So
man. Where do you want to go with
um,
this? Do you want to start?
I,
Do you want me to start? Where do you want to
why
go?
why don't you start and we'll just go back and forth hitting with
We'll
the
go
the,
with our tens and
the
count it on down, right?
count
All
on
right.
down. Yeah.
Okay, so I will start out with my number 10 of your top 10 is going to be the one I know this is going to hurt you, but it's the first time watch, so it's going to be Sweeney Todd. Yeah, yeah. Look, I told you this like when I was watching it, I texted you just once, and I was like, bro, if I could have like a 45-minute version of like a greatest hits, of scenes from this movie just kind of mashed together, I'd be cool with it. Um, Here's the deal: for the first hour of the movie, it was not flowing for me like at all. Like I was not into it. It was like taking forever to get anywhere for me personally. I wasn't really into the music. Um, and then the back half of the movie, it's a 2 hour movie. The back hour is where it started like clicking for me and getting interesting because he finally started killing people and it took a long time. So like once he sets up his barber shop and they start their little barber shop meat pie scheme, between him and Helena Bonham Carter, I was like starting to like jive with it, and so because it started getting into a little more of the horror elements, like the story was kind of clicking a little bit. Some of the songs got a little better. It's just I was okay with like the atmosphere of the movie, but for me the first hour just like really dragged and like took forever to like really get going. I think the one bright spot I said I had was the when Sacha Baron Cohen is selling his snake oil, his piss oil, whatever you want to call it, the piss oil scene,
Yeah.
and they do the onstage competition for the shaving competition. So that was like a highlight of the first hour. But again, if I could like make my own edit of an hour of like take an hour out of the two and put in my favorite stuff, like I'd be cool with it. But for me, like the whole thing was kind of a drag like overall. But then again, it's one of those things where musicals aren't really my bag for the most part anyways. So I have to like really be into it. But yeah, I did enjoy certain scenes, like would pique my interest here and there. And I did, man, some of the horror and the gore and stuff gets really crazy near the end. When he's slitting throats, I mean, he's slitting throats. There's blood going everywhere. And what really got me was when he would dump the bodies and the thud they would make when they would hit like the stone at the bottom, like was always just like the sound design was really good. Just thud,
Yeah.
just oh man, just the crack and yeah, all that stuff was good. Like when he does it to like Alan Rickman and stuff, like it's great. So yeah, and oh my god, when he shoves Helena Bonham Carter like in the furnace at the end, like in the oven or whatever,
Yes.
like oh my god, I was like, whoa, I was like, this movie just got real. So yeah, I mean, again, there's good stuff in there. It kind of took forever to get there for me. Like I was not really flowing with the movie for a while. So that's the only reason it's number 10. I didn't like hate it, but I don't see myself going back to it a lot. Again, I might watch a few scenes here and there or kind of skim through it. But yeah, so that's my number 10.
Yeah, and I totally get those criticisms. Like I feel like if you're not a fan of musicals, you're not going to be as high on this movie as those who are fans of musicals.
And you are, and that's cool. And I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you have a horror movie in your top 10. I wouldn't call this. I'm not going to call this a straight horror movie. There's definitely horror elements, but it's not. It's a musical. The highest horror movie I have on my personal like favorites list doesn't come until number 41.
Okay, right. So what's that one? I piqued my curiosity.
Halloween, the original Halloween.
Halloween. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's in my top 64. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally. All right, fair enough.
So yeah, I mean.
All right. So do you want to go to your 10 of my 10 and then kick that off?
Yeah, and up until today, I was giving the last half of this movie a rewatch, and I thought this was going to be a little higher, but it wasn't. My number 10 of yours is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Which you have at number
8, I believe.
8, so
8. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind the 3-hour runtime. I don't mind it because it is entertaining. But I think for me personally, like if I'm going to sit down and rewatch a movie, I'm going to go with something shorter. Yes, this is a very entertaining movie, and I love Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in this. I think this should have been his Oscar.
I kind of agree. Like I think either this or his supporting thing in Django Unchained should have been his Oscar because he's great in Django Unchained as well. Like his supporting Calvin Candy role, because he's just like almost unrecognizable, and it's a whole crazy character like he's never done. Like either one of those, I think would have been cool. But yeah.
I don't know if it's just the amount of F words that can put me off.
The record breaking amount of F words, like 512 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Language doesn't really bother me if it's used right, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think like some of them were just inserted just to be there, and maybe that was the point, and I'm just missing it completely, which happens a lot. I miss the point completely on a lot of things. But yeah, some of that, like the excessive drug use, it's not for me. Like I find the dialogue really good and really entertaining. There's some very funny moments in this movie. I think the direction is great. Like maybe like I don't know. Like I need to rewatch it. I think as a whole before really. Because I actually just watched it for the first time recently. I'm talking this year recently.
Okay.
So I was given a little bit of a rewatch this morning, and I don't know, like when I was looking at your list and thinking about where to place it, like I think I'm going to rewatch every other movie that's above this before I
Before
rewatch this
that.
one.
Okay. That's fair.
And
That's fair.
that's kind of one of the things I think of when making my list. Like there's a movie that's in my top 20 that's not very rewatchable, but I think just like the technical and performances in it warrant me putting it that high, and that's Schindler's List. I'll put that out there. I think that's one of those movies that I appreciate because I have rewatched it. I'm not like, hey, let's go sit down and watch Schindler's List.
Yeah, right. Pop some popcorn, babe. Let's hop on the couch and and drink some beers and have a good time. Yeah, and watch Schindler's List. No, I get that.
So maybe upon a rewatch, it'll be higher. Not only in like these movies, but in where I would rank it personally. Because I think Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic. Margot Robbie, like the entire cast, just puts in banger performances. I think I even like
Matthew McConaughey and his like 10 minutes of screen time is like steals the movie almost. Like he's great, and like he's awesome. Yeah.
I
Jonah Hill.
Oh yeah, Jonah Hill was fantastic. I especially enjoyed when they took the Quaaludes and they're not working.
Yeah, take some more. They're duds. They're fucking duds. Take a few more.
And he ends up driving to the country club and he's getting on the phone, and I don't know. I thought that scene that's probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
like I think it's great.
No, it is. Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I mean, I've seen this movie. It's in my top 10 because I've literally put this on. I can't tell you how many times just like to put it on, just to have something on, and then I can just click with it no matter what I'm doing and just like, peek in on it and enjoy whatever's going on, or just sit down and watch it again. Cause I think it's one of the fastest moving 3 hour movies ever. Like it moves. Yeah. Like I cannot believe how fast it moves. And I've seen it probably 40 or 50 times at this point since it came out. And I don't know if I know I've told the story about seeing it for the first time in the theater. Do you recall this? About I saw it with my parents in the theater. So the story goes, me, my ex, who I was with for a long time, and my parents were all going to go do a movie night. So we go to the theater, and this is like 2013. So online ordering is still kind of wonky. Like it wasn't as smooth as it is now. Like I can go on my phone and get my tickets within 30 seconds, that sort of thing. So we go to the theater, and we were going to go see Saving Mr. Banks, the Tom Hanks movie, right? Because we were all, I'm a big fan of Mary Poppins, and we eventually saw that, but it was sold out. Completely sold out. So, and we were like, well, all right, we got to go what else is out? Okay, there's that Leo DiCaprio like Wall Street movie. So we're like, okay, I guess we'll go see that, whatever. So we get into the theater, and it proceeded to be one of the most awkward 3 hours of my life, as the opening scene is, after they throw the little person like into the bullseye, it cuts to him in a Ferrari getting roadhead from Margot Robbie. And I go, oh boy, this is going to be a long 3 hours. And then he's doing cocaine out of the rear end, I'll say, of a hooker, and it's like, oh boy, this is going to be something. And this is going to be, and we were probably the youngest people in the theater. We were the only ones laughing at all the funny stuff, like that they were throwing out there. So it made for a very weird experience, but also a very memorable one. And I ended up watching this movie just a lot. But I enjoy the hell out of this movie. But I totally get why like if you haven't seen it as many times as I have, like you would rank it a little lower. But no, it's totally cool.
Which it's funny because you say like this is the movie that you can put on just to and just check it on. That's Sweeney Todd for me. So it's funny that we have both of these movies at number 10.
Yeah. No, that's cool. No, that works. I totally get it. But all right, so I think I'll jump to the number 9. So my number 9 in this one is a movie that I like. I want to say that up front. I don't dislike this movie. I just don't have the nostalgia connection or love that everybody else on the internet and in the movie community seems to have to this movie. So I don't think it's like the greatest thing of all time, and that's The Princess Bride. Okay. So The Princess Bride, I didn't see it young. The first time I saw this movie was like 10 years ago, like when I was like 26, and I saw it in a theater in a repertory screening. So I got to see it on the big screen for the first time. Nice. And it was like, I enjoyed it as an piece of entertainment, but I was just like it was good, but I was like, okay, I just don't see it, and maybe it's because I know that females have a big thing for Carrie Elways in that movie. My ex surely did, and thinks he's like the hottest character of all time. So the As You Wish stuff is that. I thought there were really brilliant bits. I mean, the stuff with Wallace Shawn, like when they're doing the back and forth with the wine or the drink or whatever, like is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's awesome in the movie. Andre the Giant is like a big teddy bear sweetheart in that movie. Like he's great. All the Inigo Montoya stuff is fun. His quest. I mean, there's like good things in it. I just don't have that old school like connection to it. Like I don't have that feel for that movie that everybody else does because I didn't see it early. So like I've tried to go back and watch it again. It's good. I will watch it if it's on. But like I just don't have that same love that other people have for it, because of my history with it. So, again, I like it. Before you throw the pitchforks at me, like I like it. I don't think it's bad at all. Like it's not a bad movie at all. I just don't think it's like some people think it's like the greatest movie ever made or whatever, the greatest tale of all time. And like, I get where they're coming from, but it's not my thing or not my first choice.
Right. Yeah. So, totally get that too. The reason I have it so high is I think this is like highly rewatchable for me personally. Like it's just the kind of movie I go for. And that's the good thing about movies is that there's different things about different movies that gravitate people to them. Like you gravitate to the horror, I gravitate to the musical. That's the beauty of film. Like if everybody liked the same movies, life would be boring, and we wouldn't be able to have conversations.
And you look at our two lists, we have one crossover, but like all these other movies are wildly different movies, right. Like completely different movies. And it's like, and that's the thing of movie subjectivity and what can hit everybody's sweet spots, like what just clicks with you and what have you. And like, I get why this clicks with people. Like I totally get it. I've never been a big fantasy person either. Like I've never been stuff for like Willow or like this stuff or just these kind of fairy tale like movies. I've never been really that person to click with that. So that's just never, I've always gravitated again towards darker stuff or action or like straight horror or whatever. I've just clicked more with that sort of thing. So I've never been a fantasy person either. So that could be one of my things. Again, even stuff like Lord of the Rings, I like the Lord of the Rings movies. Like I will watch them anytime, but I've never been like one to where I put those on all the time. Like some people do, you know what I mean? I'll when I want to sit down and watch them, I'll watch them, but, and I realize how great they are, but it's just not quite my bag as far as like rewatchability and stuff I gravitate to.
So again, The Princess Bride, for me, it's one of those that's highly rewatchable. I love the dialogue in this movie too. I think, like you said, Wallace Shawn, I think he's
brilliant. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. Yeah.
Really, I think he's the best part of the movie, and I'm like the only gripe I would have with this movie is that he's not in it enough.
And he steals every scene he's in, but he's really only in like maybe 15 minutes in the movie or something like that. Like he's not in it that much. But
so that'd be my only gripe for the movie, and I think it's a minor nitpick. I think what he did works, and I like Billy Crystal's little cameo in the movie. I think he's fun.
Have fun storming the castle, all that stuff is fun. That stuff is fun. Again, I have fun with like scenes and things. It's just like not one I go back to a lot. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I have the Steelbook Blu-ray right over there on my shelf. Like I own it. So it's like, along with everything else, like, all these movies you sent me on my list, like the only one I had to buy was Sweeney Todd, like on DVD. So I owned everything already. So like I already like these movies for what they are. So, and they're in my collection. But so all right. So that was my number 9. So what's the number 9 of my list for you?
Yeah, the one movie of yours that I don't own that I had to rent, and that's the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I knew nothing about this movie. I only knew the title, and I only knew that you really enjoyed this because it's all we were talking while I was watching that this is you recently put this as like your favorite horror movie.
It might be now. Yeah, it's always like, depending on the day of the week or what mood I'm in, it's this or the thing, and it goes back and forth like constantly, like this or the thing. And oddly enough, they're both remakes. So 2 of the greatest horror movies I think of all. Actually, really, some of my 4 or 5 favorite horror movies of all time are remakes. It's like this, yeah, the Thing, The Blob from 1988, and The Fly from like 86 are like four of my favorite horror movies of all time, and they're all remakes, oddly enough. So like I don't know why that is, but they just work. So yeah, but please, yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And yeah, I thought this movie was really good. Again, like I'm not a big horror fan. Like I like the big horror movies. I'm a very basic horror fan, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street and like Halloween and like some of the big mainstream ones. Yeah,
like those ones, love them. So this isn't a movie that was on my radar. It's not one that I was going to go out of my way to watch, but I'm glad I did, because I think this movie was great. I think Donald Sutherland gave a really good performance. I love Jeff Goldblum. I like that you called it paranoia horror.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, absolutely. Like there were times when I just felt uneasy. I'm like, oh, what are these guys doing? What's happening? And then yeah, like some of the images in this movie are creepy. Like I think the effects in this movie are really good. And at times it's like, oh no, this movie was made in 1978. This is a 70s movie. And the effects and
it's all practical.
Really good, this movie. Love that. It flowed. It didn't feel very long. I think it was, what is it, like an hour and 40?
It's about an hour and 50 minutes or something. But yeah, it's not too long. But I think it gets to the point like pretty quick. I mean, literally the opening is like the spores coming down, and then like within 10 minutes, like what's her, Elizabeth, the other character, is like her husband is like acting weird and he's been taken over, you know, and then we kind of get to Leonard Nimoy, like his thoughts, and he's great in the movie. Like it's cool to see him in a non-Spock role, like playing something different, you know, just playing this like psychologist that they're friends with, and yeah, like really good cast all around. And I just love the atmosphere it sets up. Like again, I love paranoia horror, which is why this and The Thing are like my two, because to me there's nothing more terrifying than if you woke up one day or you were in a situation where you didn't know the people around you that you've known for a long time. Like if you woke up tomorrow and like your family members were not your family members anymore, and you knew that. Like even there's that little scene with when he goes to the cleaners, and he goes to the cleaners, and the one guy, and it's like the couple that you can tell have been married for probably 40 years, you know, that run the cleaners, you know, the Asian couple. And the guy goes, "That's not my wife, you know, that's not my wife. She wrong." You know, it's like, but who would know that better than somebody who's probably been married to somebody for 40 years? Like if you woke up, you would know if your wife was not your wife anymore. Like, and he's like, "She's not my wife." And like, that's horrifying to me. Like if you woke up and your spouse was not that person anymore, or your family members, that's to me more terrifying than like a monster or a killer that you have to face. Is like the whole world against you, and like you don't know who to trust, and you can't go anywhere, which is why this movie's, you know, again, it's a very dire movie because it ends on us like they win. This movie ends on we lose. We lose in this movie. Spoiler alert, but like we lose. We don't win. And there's that scene where he's going to see the ship, and he sees the pods on like the shipping container ship, and they're playing Amazing Grace, which is symbolic of it's a funeral for humanity, because you always hear that at funerals. It's signaling that's it, it's over. They've won. It's everywhere now, and he can't do anything about it. So, and it's kind of, I know it's cynical, but at the same time it's like sometimes the world sucks and we lose. You know, and it doesn't always have a happy ending. But I love, it's more of a, because it's not a lot of like gore or anything. It's more of like a psychological horror movie, you know, again, with the paranoia and stuff, and with a few kind of wonky, crazy images, you know, when they're setting up the people, like when the Donald Sutherland's being birthed out of that pod, like it's real gross and icky, you know, and it's crazy. But like, or when people have like the stuff, they're starting to dry out and their lips are getting dry, there's like all this subtle stuff and they turn to dust. Like it's, I love everything about the world that it builds, and kind of the characters and everybody kind of struggling. Like I think it's a lot of fun. Like I think it's just interesting. But I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I'm glad you at least liked it.
It was really good. And who knows, maybe on the rewatch I'll catch some more things that I maybe missed this first time watching it.
I tell you one thing I didn't catch for a long time is you see all those trash trucks like going around, and they're always dumping like stuff into it. Those are the people's ashes who have been like disintegrated. Like you know, if you ever look, like the husband at the beginning and everybody throughout the movie, they're all the garbage guys are dumping all this stuff, and it's all this like ash and dust. That's all the people who have like, because after the pod person gets birthed, they like dry out and like disintegrate essentially into ash, and that's all the people that are getting dumped into trash trucks.
Oh, wow.
So it's interesting that you don't really notice initially on a first watch.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, horrifying concept. Aliens that come and take us over. Not through big spaceships coming through Independence Day style and blowing us up. But just slowly kind of. They take over humanity and they win. It's just they come in the back door and they win. So to me, that's more horrifying. Yeah,
definitely not the ending I expected, but
right.
It definitely works.
I should have put my T-shirt on. I have a T-shirt of that shirt, and it's Donald Sutherland doing the face at the end when he goes. Like it's pretty great. But yeah, it's a pretty iconic image. But anyways, I'm ranting and raving about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We got to keep it moving. Okay, so I'll go to my number 8 of your list. It's a movie that I really like. I just have to be in the right mood to watch it. I just don't rewatch it a lot, but it's really, really awesome. And that's, to me, is Good Will Hunting. So Good Will Hunting is great. And don't get me wrong, I think it's fan-freaking-tastic. I did rewatch it again this week. But I've really only seen it total, like maybe 4 or 5 times, like since it's been out. But yeah, like I have to be in the right mindset to like sit down and watch it because it's a very like emotional movie, and it's very, what the dynamic, especially of obviously Damon and Robin Williams and like what they go to. But yeah, phenomenal script, great direction. I mean, this movie kind of put Gus Van Sant on the map. It put Matt Damon on the map. Like I know he'd been in like Rounders and stuff and a few other movies, but it obviously elevated those guys to like A-list status, and they won an Oscar and no, the movie, I mean, absolutely works and it's excellent. I just don't go back to it a lot. It's one of those movies I don't like put on frequently and cite as like a super rewatchable movie just for me. But Good Will Hunting is great. Like I will never say it's not, because it is. But yeah, please.
Yeah, no. So I just recently watched it for the first time last year, like early last year. And no, I fell in love with this movie. I think the script, like you mentioned, is amazing. The script is really good. Matt Damon and Robin Williams give probably my favorite performances of theirs. I mean, it's hard for me to pinpoint down what exactly my favorite Robin Williams performance is because he's given so many great performances. I think he absolutely shines when it comes to dramatic roles because he can still bring that level of comedy to it, but still keep it serious. I think he was just a phenomenal actor. And so is Matt Damon. I think what were they talking? It's the scene when Matt Damon breaks down and just starts, he just loses it. I love that scene.
Yeah.
I love Robin Williams' monologue. I love the end of the movie. You son of a bitch, stole my line.
Yeah, right.
just great, a great line.
Yeah.
I think what's his first name? Peter Skarsgård.
Yeah.
I think he's really good in the movie in his supporting role. I think Minnie Driver is just everyone's giving top-notch performances.
Minnie Driver is really a forgotten, like underappreciated actress of like the late 90s and early 2000s. Like she gave a lot of really good performances and then kind of like dropped off for whatever reason. But yeah, like she's really good and I think she's still working, but yeah, Minnie Driver's like, when you go back and see some of those performances that she gave, especially in Good Will Hunting, like she's subtly really good. Like she's not like the most dynamic like personality or somebody you'd really think of as like a leading lady, like late 90s, but like she's really, really good. And especially in this, she's kind of perfect in what she does.
Yeah, and this is actually only a movie that I've seen twice. And the fact that I had it all the way up to number 2, and at one point I had it at number 1.
Oh wow! Okay.
At one point it was number 1. Then something Mary Poppins overtook it.
All right.
It was all those rewatches that I did of Mary Poppins. I don't know why. Like there was a time I rewatched it like 3 times in the span of a month or something, and I was like, wow, I really love this movie. But anyway, Good Will Hunting, which is what we're talking about right now. Yeah. It was. I think it was just the script. It was the dialogue. It was the direction. Everything about this movie just wowed me. And I think because of all those levels, like it just shot up really high for me. And I don't know, maybe it was just a recency bias. Like I had just seen this and it was fresh in my mind. I'm like, no, that is a really good movie. And do I like it more than all these other movies on my list right now? Probably. So maybe I'm just really high on it right now, and this will change. Like if we did this in like 6 months, it might change. I don't know, but right now, like I'm just really high on this movie. I love it. I love the performances. I love the writing. Just everything about this movie. Like, knocked it out of the park for me. And it won the most recent Oscars episode of Tournament Fights.
So. That is true. It did win. So yeah, that means it's pretty good. And and maybe all those Mary Poppins rewatches are kind of spawned from your Tournament Fights of your top 64 when it actually won. And then it was like, oh, I am gonna rewatch it. And you're like, oh yeah, this movie's great. And it's like, yeah, it is. So yeah, no, totally. It's always a favorite.
Yeah, so
all right.
That was number 8.
That was number 8. So what do you got for my/your number 8?
Another first time watch.
Okay.
Which will probably move up higher the more I rewatch it, because I had a ton of fun with this movie, and that's what I'm going to describe this. This is a fun movie, and that's Tremors.
Yeah,
Tremors
right.
is
so fun.
It's horror, it's sci-fi, it's comedy, it's it's
a monster movie. It's a buddy. Yeah, it's a buddy movie. It's it's a small town movie. It's a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just from the beginning when Kevin Bacon and I don't know
Fred Ward, Val and Earl.
Yeah, Val and Earl, and they're out in the off of this cliff, and just the back and forth they had, like it was like a 2-minute scene, and it was just so much fun. I'm like, all right, this is going to be a fun time, and I'm ready for this. And it's just they're just trying to get out. They're just trying to leave this small town of 15 people.
We decided to leave this town just one damn day too late, Yeah, and they did. If they left a day earlier, they wouldn't be dealing with any of this. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
I can't believe we turned down free beer.
Yeah, right.
Like, some of the lines in this movie are just fantastic. I'll be quoting them for days, I'm sure. The monster, I like that we didn't see the monster until like more than half an hour into the movie. Like
it's something like that. The first full reveal you get of it is when he smashes into the concrete wall, and then they break open the wall, and it kind of spills out a little bit, and it's really gooey and icky. But yeah, before that you see a little bit of the tongues, when they're grabbing like the animals and things like that. You see a little bit of stuff.
Monster itself,
right? And then exactly. That's the fun reveal. Is like because even the characters are figuring it out too, because when they're grabbing the horses, when they're on the horses, and he goes, there must be a million of them, and then it busts out, and he goes, no, it's just one big one with like these tongues, and it's like a cool reveal because the characters are learning about the monster as you're learning about it. So it's like, and they never really give you like a full explanation. There's like theories, they ponder a few things, they figure some things out about them, but there's never like a definitive answer. Like one of them's just like, oh, it must be some mutated monster. Fred Ward's convinced they're from outer space. They don't know. They're guessing, and the movie never really. Now they do kind of in the sequels dive more into that. I will say that. So if you want to know, you can go watch the sequel, and they dive more into that. But yeah, as far as this one, like they figure out a few things, they speculate about some other things, and they just go from there, and they're just trying to survive. So, but yeah.
One thing that usually really bothers me is when, they figure out a way to, they think they figure out a way to defeat the monster or whatever. And then it's like, oh, but now the monster can do this. And that usually irritates me in movies. Like, it's just like, all right, well, let's just find a way to keep this going. But for whatever reason, in this movie, it works. Like it just works. Like these are smart creatures, and
they get smarter, and they're adapting as they interact with the people that they're going after. Like they're figuring it out. So yeah, I mean that. But it makes sense because like if something didn't work, the other ones would kind of figure it out, and it's like why at the end, they go fishing for the one, and he takes the bait and blows up, and then they try to do it again, and the other one's like, nope, like I'm not falling for that. Like I saw that, I figured it out. But I personally think one of the great sight gags of all time, and I will stand by this, is when it breaks in to to Bert to Bert's basement, you know, the survivalists, and him and Reba McEntire, and it breaks in, and you think that, oh my God, it's gonna get him. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it broke in, you know, because they go, God Almighty, and then it just kind of cuts for a second, but then you hear the gunshots in the distance, and you go, oh yeah, okay, they've got guns, so they're shooting and they're shooting and they're trying, and they kind of run out of bullets and they back up, but then you just get that the reveal of the wall of guns, and it's a great reveal, and then you go, and it clicks in your brain, you go, oh, they might have a chance here, and they do, and then thus ensues, I think, one of the great, cool gunfights of all time when they're taking out the graboid in that cellar. Like, I think it's awesome. Like, I think it's so perfectly directed. To me, Tremors, for what it is and what it's trying to do, and I've always argued this, is a perfect movie because it perfectly sets up the location. It perfectly sets up the characters. It perfectly reveals the monsters, and it has a clean-cut editing and runtime and direction. You know everything you need to know. I don't think there's a wasted scene in this movie. I think everything has some kind of payoff or connection to something later on. To me, I think it's a perfect little movie that doesn't get enough credit for how good it is. And I think everybody who does love it, but I think the movie has slowly over time gained this following of like people who love this movie as much as I love this movie. Like, I've seen this movie legit over 300 times probably. between cable watches when I was a kid. This used to come on TV all the time, like on the weekends, and I watched it every single time. I owned it on VHS, I owned it on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, you name it. I've owned it, and I've watched it over and over. I could watch this movie once a week and have no problem with that. Like, I love Tremors so much. I'm glad you liked it too, because it's a fun movie, like a really fun movie.
Yeah, it is, and this might be one of those that it becomes like highly rewatchable for me because I had a lot of fun with it. The only reason I have it at number 8 is because I've seen the movies above it more.
Oh yeah, because you've only seen it once, and I totally get that. But yeah, I think it's super rewatchable. Like, I could even just watch, like, I think even the first 20 minutes when you're just following Val and Earl, their chemistry is so good. I could just watch them do handyman stuff around the town and interact with Walter Chang, you know, at the market and their interactions with everybody in the town. I just think even that stuff is good. And when that stuff is good, like, it just, you follow the characters and you're with them, you know. Like, I could just watch them just be handymen and I'd be totally fine with it, which is the sign of a good movie. Before you even introduce the monsters, like, I could just watch these guys just be pals and do their jobs, you know. Like, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, well, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Great,
all right,
great
I was
movie,
excited about that. Excellent. All right, so I'll go to number 7, and it's a movie I hadn't seen again in probably 15 years. I know I saw it in a theater initially on a classic screening, and I just didn't remember a lot of it besides the musical sequences. So that's Singing in the Rain. So I watched Singing in the Rain, and I really like Singing in the Rain. Like, Singing in the Rain is great. It was a musical that, like, actually clicked with me and vibed with me because I got invested in the story. Like, I got invested in, I didn't even remember, like, essentially the bare bones plot of the movie. Like, I didn't remember that that Gene Kelly's, like, story was that he kind of stumbled into the movies, you know, by just, like, filling in for the stunt guy. And like, I loved all that stunt with him, with all the stuff of him being a stunt guy in the beginning. Like, I really got into that. I thought it was a lot of fun seeing, like, all the silent movie stunts and all the kind of things, crazy stuff he was doing, you know, riding motorcycles and jumping off of cliffs and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I really liked all that. I liked his chemistry with his musical buddy. Like, all the little vaudeville stuff was a lot of fun. And yeah, like, I was surprised at how I got really, really into it. The movie was not too long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, which I was surprised. I could have sworn all those old time musicals were like 2.5 hours. And then when I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's only like an hour and 40 or 45 minutes. So that's cool. My only nitpick, I only have one nitpick with the movie, is that I was not as much into the Broadway stuff at the end. Like, there's a point in the movie where the plot kind of is moving along. They do I think the best song in the movie and the best sequence is the Good Morning sequence. The Good Morning, Good Morning, like that song and that sequence is my favorite of the movie. And then, I didn't realize you went, like, almost immediately from that into the Singing in the Rain sequence, like right afterwards. It's like 2 minutes later. I think the movie kind of peaks with that, like, for me personally, because then it goes into, like, they do the weird stuff with Debbie Reynolds dubbing over the other girl, like in the movies, and they kind of like they're like re-editing anything. Again, that's interesting. I was into it, and then he goes and is like, okay, and then for the big finale, we're gonna do this Broadway number, and here's how it's gonna go, and it's like 20 minutes of Broadway stuff, which I was just not as into. For
Right.
like that kind of drag. Like I was watching, and I was like, okay, the sequence is still going. It's still going. It's like, to me, like that sequence was not as good as like the first hour and 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Like that's all I was going to say. But that first like hour and 10, 15 minutes was awesome. Like I really, really enjoyed it. I could definitely see myself like going back to watch it again. But I might tune out after that part. Like when it gets to the Broadway stuff, if I rewatch it, I might click off of it, to be honest. But this viewing, I literally, when I was done, I went and pre-ordered, because it'd be coming out next month, the 4K of Singing in the Rain. I'm gonna buy it, so because I don't own it yet, so it will be added to my collection in 4K. So
Nice.
so there you go, brand new.
Yeah, I totally get that. Again, it's like going back to my point about Sweeney Todd. Like, if you're not a huge musical fan, I can see where that sequence is going to turn you off.
To me, I'm not as into like lavish Broadway stuff. I was more into like the low key stuff, like when they're just dancing in the house, like around to the Good Morning thing. Like I was into that and kind of tap dancing around the place. I was more into that stuff. And then it gets into like this big lavish, and they got the scarves like going everywhere and all that. And I'm just not as into that, like just me personally. So it just kind of, it lost me a little bit there. Again, it didn't make me hate the movie or anything like that. It was just like, I thought it was going along at such a level that like it just kind of dropped a little bit for me. So, and I thought it kind of peaked at a certain point and then kind of dropped off, but I still really like Singing in the Rain. Like I'll definitely go back and watch it again at some point for sure, especially when I get my 4K. Like I'll pop it on.
And I think this movie is actually really funny too. Like there's a lot of humor in this movie. I was surprised at how much, because I went into it the first time expecting just a musical. I didn't expect to laugh as much as I did. Like some of the musical numbers have some good humor to it. I think the song Moses, when they're practicing, when Don's practicing his because they're going to be in talkies now.
Oh, so, no, the make him laugh sequence is great. Is iconic. Yeah. Obviously, that sequence is awesome. Like there's a lot of great physical humor in that one, and I heard it took him like a ton of, like, I saw something in trivia where I forget the actor's name, the guy who plays that part. Like he had to sleep for like 2 days straight because he was exhausted after that sequence, because he did it like 4 or 5 times, and he was just physically just whipped, like he couldn't even move. So I totally get that. But yeah, all the sequences are very, very well done. Like I have no complaints there as far as like the choreography and all that. It's great. But yeah, I was surprised at how much going back to it, I didn't remember the plot or anything, and how much I got into that. So I really enjoyed that part of it.
I love this. It only goes up every time I rewatch it. So
gotcha. All right, man. Well, I will definitely bust out the 4K when it comes to me in April. I've already got it pre-ordered off Amazon, so I'll break that out. And I like the way some of those 4Ks, that old Technicolor kind of stuff, like looks on 4K. Like I have the 10 Commandments 4K from like 50, the Charlton Heston one, and like it's got that old school Technicolor, and it looks amazing in 4K. Like it looks incredible. So like I can't wait to see some of those sequences. Definitely look as good as they do. So. All right, sounds good, man. Well, what's the number 7 for you on my list?
Number 7, we were just talking about comedy, so let's keep talking about comedy, and we'll go Blazing Saddles. I got Blazing Saddles at number 7. Not my favorite of the Mel Brooks movies, but it is my second favorite of the Mel Brooks. So I love this movie. I think it is very funny. I understand. I mean, I don't understand the criticism that it's getting now, because it's like this movie was made 50 years ago, guys. This humor worked back then, and it works now.
It still works now. Funny. And here, to anybody saying anything about like the racial humor or anything, to me, here's my defense against that. All the racists in the movie are the morons of the town, as Gene Wilder describes them. Moron. Like they're the imbeciles of the town. They're the dummies. Cleavon Little as Sheriff Bart is smarter than all of them. He's more intelligent, and he outsmarts them and outwits them, and earns their respect eventually. You know what I mean? And Gene Wilder is the counterbalance to that, where he's the guy who doesn't see color. He just sees like a guy, and he just makes friends with him and just sees him as a dude. And there's some other crass stuff, but I mean, dude, it was the 70s. Like, what are you gonna do? Right. Like, I'm sorry, like it is what it is. But like, I still think it's damn funny. Like from start to finish. It's not too long. It clicks for me personally. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's basically what I have to say about it too. Is like I think the humor works. I think Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little are great
Mhm.
together. And yeah, no, I mean, I if you want to watch a good comedy, just find something that Mel Brooks made and put it on. And I would
Mhm.
highly recommend this one because it is very funny.
Mhm.
And like I said before, Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little work very well together. And it shows that racism is stupid. So stop it,
Yeah,
guys.
stop. Yeah, it's
And I know
dumb.
you're pretty high on it because this was your number two.
My number two, it's my favorite comedy period of all time. So like that's why it's so high up there. It is something that my dad introduced me to like a long time ago. Like I've been watching this movie for a long time.
Mm.
This and Animal House, which Animal House is in my top 25 as well. But
Okay.
I have Blazing Saddles a little bit higher. But yeah, and Animal House is the one I was surprised when we brought it up on Tier Ranker Fights. Like nobody else was really into it. And like I think that movie's genius. Like as far as college comedies go, like I think it holds up brilliantly. But yeah, like I just think Blazing Saddles, again, all the satire works, all the just straight humor works, all the physical comedy works. It even has a farting scene that's legitimately funny, like around the campfire. Like it's actually a funny like fart scene. I think Mel Brooks is hilariously as a hilarious doofus in this movie as the governor, William J. Lepetime. I think Harvey Korman as Hedley Lamar is crass and sarcastic and really really funny. And then yeah, I mean, I think all of it just clicks. And there's even just funny jokes where like they're doing almost modern humor there. They do the bits where like the guys have like the motorcycle things on top of the horses, like the
Mm,
bars, like that stuff is funny. And the dudes put on like KKK outfits, to fool the other guys. Like I think that stuff is funny. Like Mongo is great. Like as just this big oaf. Like he's a lot of fun. Come on, when he punches the horse, that's one of the funniest visual gags I think I've ever seen. Like it's awesome. So yeah, I think just everything clicks. It moves. It's like an hour and a half, man. It breezes by,
yeah.
and you're there. And it even has all the meta humor with like them exiting the movie at the end. Like I think it's kind of ahead of its time too. Like it's pretty fun. So I think this movie's still a blast and still holds up.
Definitely. Yeah. It's one that I think I need to rewatch this soon because I didn't rewatch it for this
Yeah,
because there were others that I had to prioritize over it,
I
but
understand.
it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely due for a rewatch. So I'm
I
definitely
think
gonna
it's
be watching this
very,
soon.
very rewatchable, like easily rewatchable. Like
Yeah.
it's so breezy and again so silly and fun that it works. So, all right, cool, sounds good. Well, I'm glad it still works for you. Yeah, my number six is The Lion King out of your
Mm.
list. So, yeah, no, what's there to say about The Lion King? I mean, it's The Lion King. It's awesome. Again, I still hold that to me personally, Beauty and the Beast is my favorite of those 90s like Renaissance, but I
Mhm.
totally get when people put like The Lion King as the number one or Aladdin as number one. Like you could interchange any one of those three and
Right.
like I would totally understand. Like they're all masterpieces. They're
Yeah.
all
Like
excellent.
those are my
Um,
top three.
well, yeah,
So,
I mean, like, of course, like I would totally get, but I would totally get if somebody was like, "Oh, Aladdin's my favorite," or like even The Little
mhm.
Mermaid, I think is great.
Yeah.
So like, I would
Yeah.
even understand that. Like, I love The Little Mermaid as well. But yeah, like Lion King's great. Like, I've only ever had one small nitpick with the movie, and it's that I think it just needed one more scene to show the progression of Scar screwing up Pride Rock and like that land, because we take this time jump and we just don't
Mhm.
see anything in between.
Mhm.
That's my only nitpick, is if they put like one scene of like things
Right.
going downhill, people struggling. That would be my only little nitpick of the movie. Is I think it could have used like one little extra story beat. But yeah, everything is excellent. The voice acting is tremendous. Like Timon and Pumbaa are a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean Jeremy Irons as Scar is just so great. Like his voice acting is one of the great voice acting villain performances I think of all time. Like he's amazing, and he has probably my favorite of like the Disney villain songs, quote unquote. Like the Be
Mhm.
Prepared is so
Oh,
epic and awesome.
yes.
Like it's great. I mean,
The
just the
entire
visuals and
sequence.
everything. Yeah. But yeah, no, Lion King rocks. I mean, what can I say? Like it's great. I just have a personal um, I just again the five on my list, I've probably just watched more and just click with me a little bit more. Like that's really all it is. Like I like all these movies. Yeah,
Right.
it has nothing. I said just you got to rank them. You got to rank them.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, my
Yeah.
number six is Lion King.
Yeah.
But yeah,
This and Willy Wonka are probably the movies that I've seen the most.
Mm.
When I've told this before. When I was in kindergarten, I don't know why we had half day kindergarten when I was in school. Maybe it was a mid-90s thing. I don't know. But I would watch this almost every morning at my grandma's house.
Yeah, you told me
all my
that. You're
parents were
like,
working,
it's the video that they had, so like you put it on and watched it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, why not? What else is there to do?
So
Watch
just
Lion
every
King.
morning, every morning,
Yeah.
my grandma would be in the living room watching whatever soap opera she was watching, and I
Yeah.
would be in the bedroom watching The Lion King. And
Well, I mean, and I had all these Disney movies on VHS when I was a kid, so I watched The Lion King all the time. I watched Aladdin, I watched Little Mermaid, I watched them all like a million times. You know, of course, when you're a kid, you just rotate the tapes over and over again. You know, that's what you watch. I had probably the most I ever had was probably 50 or 60 tapes total, but like, you know, there was definitely a point where I maybe had like 20 tapes, and like, of course, like you're a kid, you just rotate and watch them over and over and over again. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So I would say at least. I think at least my parents were smart in giving me good quality movies to rotate over and over again, like the Disney stuff and things like that weren't the worst, you know.
Right.
I can only imagine if it's some horrendous like current animated movie that stinks and like the kid wants to watch it like 80,000 times. Like it's just, you know, I can only imagine. But I would be okay if a kid wanted to watch Lion King, you know, a couple times a week. I'd be fine with that.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, definitely.
I babysat for a family once, and all the kid wanted to watch, thankfully, was Monsters Inc. So thankfully, I really enjoy that movie.
That's a good movie. So yeah, I'd be cool with that. Yeah, I could stomach that. That's fine. And that's what I said. I have a new niece. My sister had a baby, and the baby's about to be 5 months old, and she's already entrusted me to give the baby the movie education later in life. So I've loaded up on the kids movies over in my collection, but I've only got the good stuff. I'm excluding the annoying or like the bad stuff. Like it's going to be 90s Disney or like the good like Toy Story type, you know, Pixar movies, or How to Train Your Dragon, or Kung Fu Panda, or like, you know, some of the like good stuff that I wouldn't mind if they watched it like over and over again. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I could still watch and I'd be fine with. So that's going to be the education. I'll be like, no, we're watching this, and you're going to like this. So yeah, no Frozen or Frozen 2 in this house. No, I forbid it. Absolutely not. So yeah, there you go. No.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's our Disney thing rant. But okay, so what's number 6 on your list of mine?
Well, I think it's funny again because your number 6 of mine was my number 5, and my number 6 of yours is your number 5, and it's the Terminator.
Okay.
It's funny how that worked out.
Yeah.
There's really, what can you say bad about this movie? There's like nothing really that you can say bad about this movie. I think it's a classic for a reason. Arnold just gives such a BA performance in this movie. The action is really good. Like, I don't know, like what are your thoughts on it? Obviously, you have it so
okay.
High
So
for a reason, so
my reason, and the thing that people ask me is, okay, you have the Terminator at like number 5, right? So like, where's Terminator 2? And I'm like, Terminator 2 is like number 25. Like, it's still up there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you know, it's no slight against Terminator 2. I understand that that's the one that most people prefer. For me, the reason I like Terminator more is because it has that horror vibe to it. It feels like a slasher movie. Like it feels like, you know, the unstoppable killer stalking, you know, the kind of helpless woman who has to build up her strength and find her strength and become a badass, you know, like find her, you know, make this transformation, again, assisted by, I think Michael Biehn is brilliant in this movie. Like, I think Michael Biehn is so great as Kyle Reese. Like his monologues about like, it can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, you know, it shows no pity or fear or remorse. It absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. Like, that's horrifying to me. Like, that works as a horror movie of just like, there's this thing out there that's going to pursue you till the end of time if we don't stop it. Like, essentially until you're dead. And like, that's a horrifying concept to me. I just like how kind of the movie feels a little grimy, a little like grungy, you know, because it's not as big budget as Terminator 2 is. I like those 80s like horror B movies, you know, it kind of feels like that, like the 80s sci-fi, and you know, just feels a little more grimy and a little more like guerrilla style. I just like the feel of that, and I like the simple premise, like the sequel expands and it's fine. But I just like this simple concept. They don't go too crazy with the time travel. It's just like they're here and there's the mission, and then here it is. And it creates the cool little twist of the paradox of him being like the father of John Connor, eventually because of them getting it on in the hotel room and all that. But like all the action sequences are awesome. I love the 80s like synthy music, like there's sequences in the movie where it's like like while they're chasing each other. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's excellent. Like I just love the low key feel of this one just a little bit more than Terminator 2. Is why I just gravitate towards it a little more. Again, no slight against Terminator 2. I'll watch it any day of the week. It rocks. Like it's one of the greatest action movies of all time, and it's in my top 64. Like of course it is. I just connect with like that more scary kind of stalkery, grungy sci-fi feel of the Terminator. That's just why I like it even more.
I need to give this a rewatch now, and I need to rewatch it with the mindset of viewing it in a horror sense. Because,
dude, it's literally like he when he gets there, when Schwarzenegger gets, and he's playing like a horror villain character. He's playing like Jason Voorhees, essentially, like this unstoppable machine that you can't hurt, that doesn't eat, that doesn't sleep, that just has a mission to kill. And he goes through one by one. He kills all the other Sarah Connors, which is horrifying. Like that did nothing wrong. That wasn't even the mission because he only has pieces of information. So he goes in the phone book, looks up Sarah Connor, blows them both away, and is going to find her. And again, it's that concept of this thing is out there and it will continue to hunt you. It's almost like if you see that movie It Follows, like it's always coming for you, of like that concept, only this time it's like a physical manifestation. And that, even Michael Bihn's just like, she's like, can we kill it? And he's like, I don't know, man. Like with these weapons, like, I don't know. Like it's kind of hopeless of like, I don't know if I can kill this thing. Like I'm here to help you, but I don't even know if I can help you like beat this thing, with the technology that I have. So, and just again, the character arc of Sarah Connor, finding her strength, finding her inner like, badass and like that journey, I think is just cool. Yeah, it just works for me. A lot of great character actors in the movie too, like Lance Henriksen's in here, and like Dick Miller shows up because of course he's in every 80s movie and all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of recognizable people. But yeah, the movie moves like literally within 10-15 minutes. Reese and the Terminator are both there. They're doing their missions. They're hunting Sarah down, and like they have their confrontation about 20 minutes into the movie, and we're off. Like it's great. So it moves. So yeah, I just like that grungy horror feel to it. In addition to the sci-fi stuff, it just works for me.
Yeah, it's definitely given me a new way to think of the movie because it was a sci-fi action movie, but now
think of it as a horror movie, and you'll see it in a whole nother light because it's totally a horror movie. Like I won't say it's outright a horror movie, but if you think of it with some of those elements, it works. It totally works. So yeah,
I will definitely be rewatching it with that in mind because
sweet.
Yeah, I love it as a sci-fi action movie. So
you could take it as that too. I just like those concepts of just it's hunting you, it's out there, and it's never going to stop. Like that's a horror thing. That's a total horror thing. So yeah, I like that. All right, so yeah, we'll move on to the number 5, which again a movie that gets better every time I watch it. I've just probably only seen it maybe 4 or 5 times, but man, the quality is so damn good. 12 Angry Men is my number 5. So, but yeah, I picked up the Criterion Blu-ray probably a few months ago and rewatched it again, and like the way that this movie is just so dynamite from just people talking in a room. How hard is that to do? To put together a story that you're invested in, characters that you're invested in, and really the concept that the opening of the movie is just we see them going into the jury room. We don't know what this guy's on trial for. We don't know what the case is. We don't know who these people are. That's all just slowly revealed piece by piece, because of this one guy. And we slowly it's almost like a backwards thing where we go backwards and slowly reveal like, what this guy's on trial for, the murder or whatever, and all that stuff. But yeah, like that's great storytelling, when we can get invested in that, and it's almost like a mystery as well, sort of a thing. And this one guy who's willing to stand up and be like, something's off here, like something doesn't feel right, and slowly convincing one by one, okay, I agree with him, I vote no, or whatever, when those guys finally start to agree with him. That's just great writing, great storytelling, and just works. And it's one of the most brilliant scripts like I think ever put together. Period. Like 12 Angry Men is great.
Yeah, agreed. This is a movie that if you would have if you look at my list of favorites,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't a movie you would expect to be this high for me personally.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you see, I've got a bunch of animated movies. I've got a bunch of
Musicals,
a bunch of
all stuff.
comic book
And then you got
movies.
this one movie about these 12 guys just talking in a room, like in one location for like an hour and a half. Yeah, and it's like like that. Yeah,
it's so captivating. Like
mm-hmm.
they bring you in, and like you feel like you're there and you're part of this conversation, and it's like, oh, that is a good point. Oh, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, I didn't think of that. And it's like, oh wait, I'm just sitting in my couch watching the movie. Sorry.
And
It's like
dude,
I like
I
the
think one of the greatest visual pieces of oh shit ever in a movie is when he slams that knife on the table and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's unique." Boom. And it's like a drop the mic moment. It's like, "Whoa." And all it is him pulling out something. You know what I mean? It's so cool. Like it just works. Like it just works. Every little twist and turn and just in this conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, it works.
And I think it's got a good message too. Like it would have been so easy for him to just go along with it and say, yeah, all right, well, it's 11-1. I'm not even gonna bother. Yeah, guilty. But no,
Mm-hmm.
like he stood up and he spoke out, and
Yeah.
I think that's just a good message for life as well. Like, don't be afraid to speak up and
Go against
speak
the
out.
grain and yeah, if
Yeah,
you believe in something. Yeah, if we're
yeah,
not
like,
convinced of something, ask questions, be skeptical. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Because, yeah, that guy would have been what, yeah, I don't know if it was life in prison or executed or whatever. I forget exactly.
Something like,
But,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, he's on trial for murder, so, I mean, it
yeah,
couldn't have been good. Yeah, I mean, this guy's fate is in their hands. And, yeah, that's one of those things where everybody was just convinced that, all right, yeah, he did it, okay, fine. And this one guy's like, just something feels off here. And it's just a cool story. Yeah,
yeah.
no, it really works.
And when I first watched it, I didn't think that this was going to be a movie that had the level of rewatchability that it actually does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, this is a special movie.
Yeah.
Great script, great acting.
Mm-hmm.
12 Angry Men. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? It's like 70 years
Please.
old.
Yeah, what are you doing? Watch it. It's brilliant. It's as good as everybody says it is. It's like in the top 10 on IMDb's top 100 or top 250 or whatever for a reason.
Yeah.
Like it is that good, and it's still that good. Yeah. Don't be put off by it's a movie about 12 guys talking in a room. Like, don't be put off by that. It's great.
Right.
So, yeah. No, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, what's your number 5 for my list?
My number 5, this might be, it's up there with Tremors as probably the most entertaining, just fun movie from your list for me personally, and that's Brennan Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah.
I was trying to rewatch it for this because it's been a while, but just things kept getting in the way, so I wasn't able to rewatch it, and I'm so disappointed because it's been a long time since I've seen it. But I remember just every time I do watch it, I have like the greatest time.
It's the greatest roller coaster ride of a movie. It's so much fun. And what disappointed me a little bit was me and Henry just ranked Indy and Mummy on Let's Rank stuff. And he had this Mummy movie at number 8, dead last. And I had it at number 1 of my list. And I was just like, oh my God. Like he thinks it's just like, it's whatever, and I was so disappointed. I can't understand how you wouldn't have a good time with this movie. Like this movie's just a blast from start to finish. I think all the characters are fun. The action scenes are a ball. Like it just moves. It's super fast paced. Like I can't believe how fast like we get to like Combinoptera and we're like into it. Like it's so fast. But yeah, I'm sorry. It's big. I want you to talk about it a little bit. I could gush about it for show,
please do because you've obviously seen it a little bit.
Oh God, how many? As many times as Tremors, probably. I mean, 200-300 times, easy. And again, I've owned this on every piece of media. I fell in love with this movie. It's just something about like. I just think it's a fun adventure, and just every single character I think is likable. Like even the bad guys are like likable. Like even Benny the Weasel is a fun weasel. Like he's a fun, backstabbing weasel. How cowardly he is and just silly, but he has those fun moments. even the minor characters, like the warden from the jail that kind of joins them for a little bit before he gets the bug in his brain, is hilarious and fun. Winston, the Royal Air Marshal, like the pilot guy who flies them to Hamunaptra at the end, who has that little mini story arc of like he wanted to die in World War One with his comrades, and he didn't. He survived, and he's just bored out of his skull. And he's like, and they present him with this quest, like, help us out, rescue this Dan. And he's like, do you think we'll survive? And he's like, no, you probably won't live through it. And he's like, really? You really think so? And he's like giddy about it, and he dies with a smile on his face because they crashed the plane. Like, it's a cool little. Even the little characters have these story arcs that are just so much fun. The cowboy American characters that are having a blast shooting the Magi on the boat, like just getting a kick out of it. Just Americans, and their guns, just getting a kick out of this. Like, Rick O'Connell is such a relatable, just cool hero. He's not invincible. He gets his ass kicked here and there throughout the movie, but he's a badass when he needs to be. Rachel Weisz is kind of progressive. She's the total brains of the operation. She knows everything that everybody else doesn't because she's smart. She's the brains of the operation, and Brennan's the muscle. It's a really cool dynamic. She's so much fun as this mousy, just kind of character that kind of finds her way. Jonathan's, again, is another good, just kind of, sidekick, comic relief. There's a lot of comic relief in this movie, but none of them are bad. Like, they're all funny, like, legitimately. And again, I think the action sequences just work. The score is amazing from Jerry Goldsmith. It's actually really good. I just think this movie is just rewatchable as hell and just so damn entertaining. Like, I just think I could put on this movie again all the time. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
I think he meant The Mummy.
The Mummy, yeah, okay, yeah.
With a guest top. Yeah. Not only does he have The Mummy in his top 10, he has
Mummy,
it all the way up at number 6.
It's number 6 of my all-time, and on Indy versus The Mummy, I had it above all 3 Indiana Jones movies because I think this movie's just a total blast from start to finish, like start to finish.
Only all 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. That's what's those 3 Indiana Jones movies. I said it. There's that other one. I mean, okay, on a technicality, there's another one, but no. In my rankings, I had The Mummy and then Last Crusade, Raiders, Temple of Doom. But like, Temple of Doom was so much fun in this past rewatch. It's probably going to make it into my top 100, which it isn't currently. I think it is, but anyways, that's a whole nother topic for another day. But yeah, I just think The Mummy is just one of the most entertaining adventure rides like ever. I think it's so much fun. It's stupid fun. Yeah.
I don't think I can gush about it the way you do, so I think I'll just agree with everything you've said. And we can
yeah, right. Hey, you haven't seen it 300 times like I have, and just have a smile on your face the whole time. You can quote the entire movie like I can, like start to finish. Thebes, City of the Dead, home to City the First. No, okay, no, I won't start quoting the movie start to finish. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, because don't you have something else you're doing pretty soon?
Yeah, right. I know. I know. I got another hour, and I got to do another show, so we gotta get through this. But all right, so we'll go to number 4. My number 4 of your list is it's a movie that's in my all 4 of these are in my top 64 as well. So like, I love these movies to pieces. You know what I mean? So it's just where I have those on my ranking is kind of where I had them on this ranking. Just to be fair. So number 4 is Willy Wonka, but like, okay. Willy Wonka is amazing. Yeah, Willy Wonka is awesome. Like, I've seen this movie 100 times. Like, it's everybody talks about Gene Wilder, and that's great, but I even love all the stuff before we even get to Gene Wilder, all the little montages of people like going crazy over the golden tickets, all the different little segments we get with all the different kids. Veruca is just such a great like brat. She's amazing. Like, I think her performance is excellent. Like, I want to be, like, I wanted to be the first before anybody else. Her dad is great. Veruca, sweetheart, I'm not a magician. He's one of my favorite little side characters in that movie. Just everything he does is awesome. Augustus is great. It has one of my favorite visual jokes that me and my buddies at work have laughed over. When Augustus' dad eats the microphone, I think that's one of the funniest things ever. Like, he puts his face and he just eats it and goes on with his day. I think that's brilliant. But yeah, all the kid segments are awesome. Charlie is of course, he's Charlie. He's one of the most sympathetic, little characters. say what you will about Grandpa Joe, about being like a lazy asshole. Like you could
He just
definitely see
needed
the movie in that
motivation.
thing. He needs some motivation to get out of the bed. He wanted some chocolate. Like I get it,
Apparently,
but
helping your family wasn't the motivation he needed,
yeah,
but
right. But yeah, all the musical stuff is actually really good. Like I enjoy the musical sequences. The only one I'm not as into is the Cheer Up Charlie thing, but it's only like 2 minutes, and when we get past
right.
it, it's whatever. It's my least favorite, but all the other stuff is a lot of fun. And yeah, even just visual, all the stuff in the factory is just stunning. When they reveal the big room, the edible room,
Mhm.
it's a stunning movie. And I have the 4K, and like when they get to that scene, just all the colors, like everything just looks
Mhm.
amazing. It's an incredible sequence. And yeah, what's there to say? Like Gene Wilder's portrayal of Willy Wonka is one of the most intriguing, funny, sarcastic, awesome, baffling characters of all time. Just what he puts into that character, and the mystery about it and everything. It's great. So yeah, what's there to say about Willy
Yeah,
Wonka? It's amazing.
right.
It rocks. Yeah,
Like if you ask me what I think the most perfect casting choice in all of cinema
it
history,
might be
like
that. Yeah, you
this,
can make an
yeah,
argument for that. You can make an
this,
argument for that.
this might be my choice. I like to watch this movie. I like to watch it with like my childhood in mind. Like this is the movie
Mm,
that I watched a lot as a child, and adults definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of this.
yeah.
But when I just go back to like my first time watching this as a kid, like I have so much fun with this movie.
Mm,
It's just a good, nice 90-minute relaxing
mm.
watch that's just like I forget about everything else when I'm watching this movie. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's how good it is for me. Like I said
And
earlier,
who
like the
doesn't? And
premise,
who doesn't get hungry with the opening chocolate making montage?
right?
Drizzling all over. I mean, come on! Don't you just immediately want to go and like get a candy bar or something? Like, come on! Like, who doesn't get hungry watching that? You're just like, oh, that. And especially, I'm trying to do this like no low sugar thing right now, and I'm just like, oh, I really want some chocolate right now, and I can't. Yeah, I've got my sugar-free Dollar Tree energy drink right now. I'm just like, I really want like some chocolate dots or a Wonka bar or something right now, and I can't. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah. Even from the opening, you're just captivated, and you're intrigued. It's great.
yeah. I love the teacher. I think the teacher is really
He's one of the
funny.
best like recurring little comedic bits. Yeah, I've decided to have our Friday quiz to Monday, so it was Monday before we've learned it. Like that's sort of all that stuff is awesome. Like, I that's the
Yeah,
stuff you don't laugh at as much as a kid. When you go back and watch it as an adult, you're like, that's really funny. Like, that's some funny stuff right there. Like, I grew up with
two. Well, I can't figure out
that.
two.
Just
So
two.
let's say
So let's pretend
you.
you had 200.
Yeah, no. This movie is just great. It's such a feel good movie.
Hmm.
And that ending, heartwarming. Like
Yeah.
nobody deserves it more than Charlie.
Yeah, he
Um,
deserves it. Yeah, he doesn't. He deserves not to eat cabbage water anymore. Come on, give the man some real food. He
yeah,
just wants some
and
bread.
yeah, and the fact that he's a child and he spends his hard earned money from his
On
paper route
tobacco.
on tobacco for his grandpa that he loves and bread for his family. Like
Right? Yeah, yeah.
what child does that? Like no, I don't want chocolate.
Yeah,
I want to
he
feed my
could. He
family.
would be totally justified if he ducked into that candy shop every now and then and bought himself a candy bar. Like he's
Yeah,
working. But like he goes
I
and
earned
buys a
this.
loaf of bread for his family. He goes and
Yeah,
buys a brioche or whatever for his family. Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, all the characters are awesome. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, what's there to say about Willy Wonka? It's
yeah.
it's it's a classic. It's awesome.
And speaking of classics and what else is there to say? What else is there to say about Jurassic Park,
Yeah,
which is
right.
my number
Near number
four?
4. Yeah, I mean, come
Um,
on. Like, what do we say about Jurassic Park? It's Jurassic Park, dude. Like, it's
yeah,
Spielberg's one of his blockbuster, mass entertainment masterpieces. Of just start to finish, amazing character, characters in the movie that you're totally invested in, effects that still hold up from 1993, like CGI wise still works because of the mix of the practical effects is why it still works. Great settings and locations. I mean, for God's sakes, I dressed up as Dennis Nedry, Newman from, his character for Halloween for this movie. That's how much I love this movie. I've done that. So yeah, it all works. But yeah, please. Jurassic Park.
First off, can we just talk about what a great year 1993 was for Steven Spielberg between this and Schindler's List?
Because he made his dramatic masterpiece of Schindler's List, but also made this movie that everybody like a blockbuster movie that everybody loved that also might be one of his masterpieces in Jurassic Park. Yeah, in the same year. That's incredible. Yeah, what a year.
Yeah, I mean the effects still hold up to this day. They are just some of the best in movies. Period. The cast is fantastic. Jeff Goldblum, once again, you must just really like Jeff Goldblum.
Hey man, Jeff Goldblum is again between this Invasion and The Fly, he's got a couple of movies in my top. You know what I mean? Like best of the best. And but there's a reason. He kind of ruled the 80s and 90s. He was great. So I mean, he's actually I have a movie from the 70s, a movie from the 80s, and a movie from the 90s, all from Jeff Goldblum on my list. So there you go, 3 different decades. Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's nothing we can say about Jurassic Park that hasn't been said already. It is a masterpiece. It's Jordan Anderson's number 5 of all time. I mean, I mean, we're all pretty high on it. It's pretty high up on my list too. Didn't quite crack my top 10, but who knows? Maybe upon rewatches it will, because there's just a lot of good movies out there.
Yeah, there's good stuff. Trying to rank stuff is hard when you like everything on the list. It's really hard.
Yeah,
trying to figure out where everything goes.
I will tell you, for your list from 5, even 6 through 1 could change in any way. Yeah, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. So yeah, your 5 that I've got for your list, any one of those could probably change on any given day as well. But I'm just going by kind of cross-referencing my own personal list. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason I'm kind of going at it. Yeah. So yeah. All right, cool. So you got my Jurassic Park, my number 7 at your number 4. Mm-hmm. So I'll go to the number 3, and that's going to be Empire. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back. It's I mean, I know Jordan's not as high on it, and he's watching, he, as far as because it's a little more dramatic, but I think it's more of it's a movie, I think, a Star Wars movie that you appreciate more as you become an adult, as you get a little older, because it's not as flashy. It's not as reliant on pure action. There are action sequences, but it's more about the character dynamics and relationships throughout the movie. That is the stuff that I really get invested in as I go back and just appreciate the script, Lawrence Kasdan's script and stuff like that, as far as especially the dynamic between Han and Leia, where they go from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, from going from the beginning to you scruffy nerf herder to I love you, I know, at the end, and their journey, Luke's journey of on the Force with Yoda, all the stuff that Yoda says is great. He's one of the better, best mentors ever in movies. He's right up there with Mr. Miyagi or something, or Mickey, things from Rocky, things like that. I mean, right there, everything he spouts is great philosophy and awesome. And again, Darth Vader is cool too. I mean, he's just a great villain, and yes, there are visually dynamic, awesome sequences and great score. I mean, again, what's there to say about Empire? But I think it's a movie that I think it's just aged well out of all the best. It was the one that was most untouched by the special editions and stuff, because what's there to change? It's you don't need to add flashy musical sequences or so much more extra effects. It's a simpler movie, but I think it's just a great story that's told. And again, one of the great cliffhangers of all time, the revelation of the father and Han and Carbonite, and Luke gets his hand chopped off, and we got to go save her. It's a great cliffhanger, and it's amazing. So I just think it ages like fine wine. It just gets better and better every time I actually go back and watch it. Even just if you watch it in the context of the whole trilogy, or even if you pull it out and just watch it initially, I think the Hoth sequence is probably my favorite action sequence in all the Star Wars movies. I think the Hoth stuff is awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jordan. The Hoth stuff is great, just visually and as a pure just adrenaline action sequence. I think it's one of the best ones ever done. But that's also a credit to Irvin Kershner's direction too. He took over from Lucas in this one. I think he just set out to make a more adult Star Wars movie, and it works.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it better myself. Everything you say, I agree with 1,000%.
Yeah, right. Ditto. We'll move on. No,
what he said.
Right. Yeah, what he said.
And again, and this is one that goes up. It was in my top 15 for a while, but just on these last few rewatches, I've just found myself enjoying it even more, and maybe it is viewing it differently as an adult than I did as a teenager, which is probably the first time I watched it. Yeah, everything is great. The whole mentor Yoda, I agree 100%. Like, he might be the greatest mentor on screen.
I go back and forth between him in this movie and Mr. Miyagi in the original Karate Kid as who's the best teacher mentor character. Like, any given day it could be one or the other, but he's definitely in the conversation. Like, it's in the conversation, of course. Definitely. Like, it's right there. Yeah. So yeah, cool. Well, we'll move on to the number 3 for my list for you. So what do you got?
Yes, and
only a few movies, only a few options left. I see. So let's see. That one hasn't been talked about. That one hasn't been talked about. Okay, so it's one of these 3 that I'm looking at. Okay, I had to narrow it down.
Yes,
let's see what you want to talk
about. It is one that you are really high on, and that is the movie Aliens, which is your favorite of all time.
Yes, that is my number 1.
I'm obviously more high on. I haven't heard my favorite movie from you yet either. So I mean, we're pretty high on each other's favorite movies.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true.
This is so it's funny because I said I have every movie above Tremors. I've seen it more than once, which is a lie because I've actually only seen Aliens once. Yeah,
but it's that damn good, right?
It's that good that I have it this high. Yeah. It was.
You mean so good. You mean you haven't seen it 250 times like I have? Over and over again. Oh, okay. Okay, just checking.
Not yet.
I was just checking. Not yet. You'll get there. You just got a little bit of catching up to do. You only need it's a 2.5-hour movie, so you only need about 600 hours, and you can catch up with me. So just chisel it into your schedule a little bit. You'll get there.
Just give me a month of nothing and
just watching it over and over and over again. You'll catch up. Yeah. On repeat.
Who needs to sleep?
Yeah, right.
But no. I still enjoy Alien a little bit more, but for me, this is in that conversation of sequels that match the original, or could be better than the original. It was that good. Alien definitely had more horror vibes to it. Aliens, I like that they switched it up, and this is definitely more of a sci-fi
action, kind of set piece kind of movie, with the horror elements. There's still horror elements, but it's more of a sci-fi action film. No, totally, definitely.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any other movies in the franchise, but the fact that they were able to make these 2 movies that they feel pretty similar, but they're also pretty different.
Totally different. They're it's the same universe, but it's 2 completely different movies. To me, it's why. Okay, let me explain one thing. So you would think, again, as the horror guy, and as I talked about with Terminator, right? I went with a more horror thing for Terminator, but I go with the more sci-fi action thing for Aliens. Why? Don't get me wrong, I love Alien. Alien is an excellent film. You know what I mean? But to me, it's not as purely fun as Aliens is. I think it's not as overall just beat for beat entertaining. I don't I still like it as a piece of isolation horror, a creature, movie, this thing where the atmospheric, it's excellent. I just haven't gone back to Alien as much as I've gone back to other horror movies, or obviously Aliens. It just doesn't click with me as hard. But don't get me wrong, I would watch Alien, and I've seen it in the theaters 3 times. I watch it a lot. It's definitely a great film. Don't get me wrong. To me, Aliens, it has the better supporting characters. Like to me, like I think not only is obviously Sigourney Weaver is amazing. She was nominated for Oscar for this movie for Best Actress, which is kind of cool for like a sci-fi action
Yeah.
movie. But like all the Marines are a lot of fun. They all stand out. They all have their own distinct personalities. They all have quotable lines. They have a great chemistry and dynamic. The dynamic between Ripley and Newt is excellent. This like mother-daughter relationship that develops throughout the movie, where she literally calls her mommy at the end of the movie, like when she hugs her, and it's really great. It has one of the great false endings, but like extra climaxes of all time, like of them escaping the planet, but then having the extra climax of her getting on the power loader and fighting one-on-one, with the Queen, like, and the fact that it's this practical like mech thing versus this practical Queen monster. It's one of the coolest visuals because it's all real from 86. There's no computers, like it's there, it's real. It's 15 guys moving the Queen around, having this real fight, like legitimately. There's 3 guys in her power loader mech suit, like they're having this amazing choreographed battle. Like you feel it because it's there, and that's why I love these old school movies so much more, because you can feel it, like it's right there in front of you. And it's not like, don't get me wrong, CGI is good when it helps the story and can enhance certain things. I totally get that. But the reason why I gravitate towards these old movies is because you feel like it's right there in front of you. You can reach out and touch it because you can go to these places and see those creatures that they used and feel it. It's a real monster. It's right there. Everything's practical. So that's why I gravitate to it. Aliens is just, I could go on all day. It's my favorite movie of all time. So I could talk, me and Jordan on a blind spot thing, we did talk about it for like 3 hours. I think we talked about Alien, and then we talked about Alien. So we talked about Alien for like an hour, and then we talked about Aliens for like 2 hours. Like I've already ranted about this movie forever. I could talk about it for 2 hours. Like, it's so rewatchable for me. And I finally got to see it in a theater like a year or two ago. Finally got to see it in a theater, which I had never had. I finally caught a classic screening, so that was great. That was like one of my bucket list things. But yeah, I just think it just clicks, man. This movie just moves, and it's so much fun, like just start to finish.
Yeah, and that's why I let you take it, because you
so
you
go
did that movie a
rewatch it
lot
because
more
it's that
justice
damn
than I
good.
did.
Go
Yes.
watch it more than one time. It's great.
I watched it last year, and I was trying to watch like 365 movies that I hadn't seen. And I failed because life got in the way.
It's hard, man, to watch a movie a day. I feel like I almost watch a movie a day because I'm always prepping for shows. So I feel like I almost do watch a movie every day because I'm always prepping for something like this or the me and Henry's ranking thing or Jordan, tournament fights or Tyrion or whatever. I'm always prepping for something, so I do watch a movie almost every day. But yeah, it's tough, like to watch a movie every day. Even if it's just a rewatch, it's tough.
Yeah, but Aliens was probably it was in like the top 5 of my favorite first time watches from the last year.
That's good to hear. I'm glad it still holds up for somebody coming into it now. You know what I mean? Who hasn't seen it as many times as I have. I'm glad it still works. On a first time watch. Yeah,
and upon more watches, it might even overtake Alien, because I'm really high on Alien, right?
No, and I totally get that. And the people who make that argument, like it's always a thing online, Alien versus Aliens. And the people who love Alien, like I totally get it. Like again, it's a great movie. It's the Terminator versus Terminator 2. Like they're both awesome. Like how do you choose? It just whatever kind of clicks with you personally. So, but yeah, Aliens just fires on all cylinders, like start to finish for me. It's awesome. It just works for me. But I totally get the Alien argument. Like that's a great movie too. Like don't get me wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my number 3 for you.
So number 2 is Back to the Future, man. It's Back to the Future. It's do we really need to say anything about Back to the Future? It's Back to the Future.
Yeah. No, it's you think Tremors is a perfect movie?
And here's the thing. Back to the Future has been talked about so much that Henry makes this point sometimes, that a movie can be talked about so much and can be so great that it almost becomes underrated to a point. Like you have to resell how great it is, but like you don't have to, because like every time you go back and you realize like it is that good. You know, it's like Pulp Fiction. So like, it's just that good. The script is that good. The character development is that good. You learn so much just from the scroll across Doc's wall in that opening. We learn so much information if you're paying attention. That's how much detail is put into this movie. The things you pick up on rewatches, the things you pick up, you know, on your 18th rewatch, even as opposed to your 6th rewatch. You know what I mean? I pick up something every time I watch this movie. And it just works. I've seen it on the big screen probably 4 or 5 times. You know, I catch it just about every time it comes on the big screen. You know, I'll go watch it. Yeah, and it comes to the point where you forget almost how good it is until you go back and sit down and rewatch it again. And you're like, no, this movie is that good. And I totally get the reason why people maybe go watch, you know, part 2 or something a little bit more, because it's a little more kinetic. Like it just fires, like you're jumping into the action like quicker, you know, just kind of boom, 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 jumping around. But like, if you sit down and look at the actual arcs, the character arcs, and the story that they develop from start to finish and Back to the Future, man, does it just like, it's so crisp and so clean. Mwah. So it's so great. You know, what a masterpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael J. Fox kills it. Probably is his best performance, his best role. Definitely his most memorable, I think. Christopher Lloyd is great as Doc Brown. I think this might be my favorite duo.
It's the role he's going to be remembered for, you know, like, you know, for better or worse, like he is Doc Brown. And when he passes, like, it's going to suck when he passes, because I know he's getting up there in age, but like, he is Doc Brown. It's one of the greatest creations of characters like ever. You know, Doc Brown is just so unique and so interesting. And the fact that we both get to see two, you know, time periods of Doc Brown where he is in his life, like that's cool. We get to see Biff multiple times in his life, which is cool. You know, I think Thomas F. Wilson is great. I think Biff is one of the great, you know, villain asshole characters of all time. You know what I mean? Like and his performance doesn't get talked about enough. Like Thomas F. Wilson throughout the whole series is awesome. Like I think he's one of the more underrated actors out there as far as like that goes, and what he put into this movie. Yeah, I mean, we could talk it up all day, but Back to the Future, like people don't. I think it gets talked about so much that it's almost been over talked, but at the same time, like for a reason, it's that good, you know.
Yeah, it deserves it. Yeah. So not much. There's a reason it shows up on tournament fights whenever we do these top 64s.
And then like and at least makes it into the poll like every single time. And it's like, no, we just get burned out as far as seeing it on there because we're just like, Back to the Future is always in. But again, for a reason, it's good. It's amazing. You know, like it's fine. So, but yeah, we just play around with that because it's just tournament fights. You get sick of just seeing the same posters over and over again. It's one of those things, but that's all it is. But it doesn't take away the movie because, like, of course, I would watch it any day of the week. And
absolutely.
Totally.
That's a movie. That's a movie like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like there's a short list of movies that I think should never be remade, and this is at the top of the list. Like this,
and
don't touch this.
Both Spielberg and Zemeckis have said as long as they're alive, they're not going to allow it to be remade. Period. It's just not going to. And Spielberg's got that stroke to where he could actually say that, and it would stick. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the big powerhouses in Hollywood where he just wouldn't let it happen. And same with Jaws, like same with or any of those other movies. He just wouldn't let it happen. It's just not going to happen. So, all right, man. Yeah. Well, I see 2 more movies on my list, and there's 1 more movie on yours. You've already figured that out, I'm sure. But there's 2 more movies on mine. So what's the number 2 for you on mine?
Yeah, it's funny that you said same with Jaws because Jaws is number 2.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
Jaws is. I watched this for the first time just a few years ago, and I was terrified. I already don't know. Like I never learned how to swim. As a child, my brothers were not the nicest to me. So we were either at the beach or a lake. So we were somewhere, and they were like, "Hey, let's go out to the water." So they're both older than me. They're twins. One of them grabbed my hands, and one of them grabbed my feet, and I was like, "Okay, we're just having fun." I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Little did I know they were just going to take me out into the water and drop me.
Just chuck you into the water.
Yeah, right. And not like right at the front of the water where it's a little shallow.
Where you can stand up. Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, they went out a little further and dropped me, so I was completely underwater. And I was terrified. And I've been terrified of water ever since. I can drink it, I can shower, but that's it. I'm not gonna like,
Right.
and I can maybe dip my feet in, but I was just never had the desire to learn how to swim.
Maybe like
or
a
anything.
maybe like a mountain stream going by, a little 6-inch mountain stream, that you can see clearly, the bottom, and you're fine,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's nothing in there. Wade your feet
yeah,
around a little bit, no problem. But yeah, no, I get it, man. This movie's had that impact, man. I get
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and it just like it heightened that fear for me. Like this movie, it is terrifying, and
Mm-hmm.
it's subtle in its horror.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't see the shark very much.
Yeah,
And
by
I know that,
accident.
yeah, by
By
accident, like it
accident.
wasn't
By
intentional,
accident.
but
Yeah.
it was such a happy accident because I think it makes the
Mm-hmm.
movie work that much more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love all the performances in this. I think the direction is fantastic. That opening is
Mm-hmm.
great. I think it's one of the great movie openings in history.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Richard Dreyfuss is fantastic. I can't remember the name of the boat owner, the
Oh, Quint.
actor. Quint.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Quint.
can't remember the
Robert
name.
Shaw. Robert Shaw is
Robert Shaw.
Quint. Yeah, he's
Um,
he's he's incredible. Yeah, he's
yeah,
so good.
he was really good. Roy Scheider. I always thought it was
Roy
Schneider, and
Scheider.
then
Roy Scheider. Roy
yeah,
Scheider. Yeah.
I always thought it was Schneider, and then I looked it up, and I'm like, no, I'm not looking for that guy. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
looking for Rob Schneider. I did not misspell this
No,
guy's
no,
name.
no.
Oh yes, I
Roy
did misspell.
Scheider.
I did misspell
Yes.
this guy's name. I think he's
Yeah.
great. I love just it was terrifying. It was like the first like big blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And it really hit on every cylinder. Like this movie was fantastic. It's haunting, it's terrifying. I didn't want to go to the ocean
Mm-hmm.
ever after watching it. Because of previous trauma, if you will, and
Yes.
then this just like
Yeah.
solidifying that like maybe I'm not the crazy one,
Mm-hmm.
and then just that iconic line, you're gonna need a bigger boat.
Mm-hmm.
Like what a good line,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the final like the showdown that they have with the shark, I think is really well done. I think
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff
Well,
is
and
really
how
good.
it turns into a different movie. You get this first 2/3 of the movie, this first hour or so, where it's this slow creeping terror of a kind of a horror monster movie almost, and then it turns into this adventure swashbuckling, like we're going on the
Yeah,
hunt
yeah.
now. And even the music, the subtle music changes. It goes from dun 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 to later in the movie dun 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 dun, dun like dun, 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 it's like this. It's adventure score. The score itself changes into like this adventure score, and if you notice, like the mood changes, but the terror is still there because you think, okay, they're going on the hunt now. They're going with Quint, the shark hunter. They're going with this guy. We're going to go on the offensive now. We're tired of playing defense. We're tired of reactionary. We're going to go on the offensive now. But like they get in over their head again. They underestimate their opponent, and again, everything just slowly breaks down. The slow sinking of the boat, the slow
Mhm.
loss of the equipment, the slow loss of the people. When Quint goes down, it's like it seems hopeless, and then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, Brody's got to step up and do his thing, and he's terrified of the water. Remember, he's terrified to even go in the water. He doesn't like the water. Like he's horrified, and he's got
Maybe
to get
that's why
over
I
his own
connect with
fear.
them so much.
Yeah, no, I mean he's terrified to even. Yeah, he's totally a guy that would stay on the beach. Like he's like, I'm not going in there, not unless he doesn't even want to go on the boat when Richard Dreyfuss just wants to go out and check out that wreckage. He's like, I don't want to go
Mhm.
on that boat. Like I don't want to go out there, and he's horrified. So yeah, he's a lot of fun. Richard Dreyfuss is one of the great kind of nerd characters ever. He's awesome. And when you knew about the dynamic in real life between Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw, how they didn't like each other, that comes through on the screen, but it makes for a great character thing. Just I hope like just all that anger coming out of him, and I Captain, I just it's just so great. Like their dynamic is awesome. Yeah, that it's one of the great kind of pardon the dirty term, but one of the great threesomes of all time. Like one of
Mhm.
three-way acting
Yeah,
performances. They're all great.
I agree.
But yeah, this movie gets. I've seen this movie countless times. It still just wraps me up and enraptures me every time. It's a lot of
Mhm.
fun, and I think and again, it terrified. To this day, still terrifies people from getting in the water or getting in the ocean. Like it works. It still has that effect, and it's
It
worked on
does.
people that saw it back in the '70s to today. That's a
Right.
testament to how powerful the movie is. Definitely.
Yeah, and it just shows what kind of a director Steven Spielberg is, because this was 1975, and this is a masterpiece. 20 years later,
It's
he was
his
still making
second
masterpieces. And,
theatrical movie, his like fourth movie overall, and yeah, I mean it's to hit that kind of a level, and again, a lot of stuff accidental because the short didn't work, and having to improvise on set and change the movie essentially. To turn it into the piece of suspense that it is. You can tell he was a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock. You got to see him on watch him direct for a little bit. Like he used to sneak on the sets and like watch him direct. Like he learned from a master like about suspense, and keeping people on their toes. So he knows what he's doing, man. I mean, there's a reason he's one of the greats of all time, and he's one of the goats. He just is. So, but yeah. All right. Well, we're getting down to number one, so there's no more mystery. So it'll be, one of these things, but we'll still talk about them. So yeah, my number one, it has to be the one that was literally in my top 10 as well. Yeah, it's Mary Poppins. Like Mary Poppins is, I've been with this movie and have danced along and sung along to this movie since I was like 4 years old. I mean, my parents literally, I owned 3 different copies of this because I kept wearing the tape out. That's how much I watched this movie. And my parents will testify that to this day. I memorized all the dance moves, like when they would be dancing on the roof, all the chimney stuff, it's all, I would dance along with it. All the songs, it's one of the musicals that works for me. Like, again, I can dig music. I like a select few musicals, and this is definitely like one of them. Just because the musical sequences themselves, every one of them tells a piece of a character's story. So like, when the mom does the Votes for Women song, it's expanding her character, what she's all about. When you do the dad, a British bank is run with precision. It's explaining his where he's coming from about discipline and structure, and how he runs the household and how it should be run. It should be disciplined and on the books, and everything done according to plan. And the kids, when they do their things, and obviously Julie Andrews is one of the great, just family characters of all time. Like, she's so wonderful. I love her. I'm very sarcastic in nature, and she's so like funny, sarcastic in this movie almost. Like, she has that wit about her where she's not afraid to like clap back at people. I hate to use that term because I hate that term, but it's what it is. But yeah, she claps back at people throughout this movie. She's not afraid to say what she wants to say. All the magic she does is so much fun. I still don't know how they do the damn endless bag trick. Like, I need to see a behind the scenes thing, where they're reaching down in there. Like, I know it's or something, but like, it still gets me every time. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, like, I don't feel the length at all. I know it's a little long, but like, I get so invested in it. To me personally, when they kick on the score and David Tomlinson is walking to the bank knowing he's going to get fired, and they kick out, like, I almost cry every single time. Like, I think it's such a sad scene when he knows what's coming and he's almost like walking to his own demise, after they've told him to come down to the bank, to the office, after everything's kind of gone to hell for him. And it's great. And then when you realize that the movie is about the dad, it's not necessarily about the kids. Like, Mary Poppins is there to fix this family, but it's about the dad. It's not about the kids, It's about him realizing what he has, It's such a cool way to, again, stuff you only pick up when you're an adult, right? Rewatching these movies, Because as a kid, you watch it for all the kid sequences and all that stuff is great. And yeah, Dick Van Dyke. I didn't even mention Dick Van Dyke rules. He's great. Like, he's so much fun. Like, he's got so much energy, dancing all over the place, singing all over the place. He's funny. He just works, man. So yeah, it's one of your favorites too. So please talk about Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's moved up to number one for all the reasons that you said. And I can have so much fun with this movie. I can put this movie on, and I can walk away, for whatever reason. I can come back in and be just as invested wherever it's at. Like, I can just all the musical sequences in this movie are great. Like, I love musicals, and this one I think does all like their musical sequences perfectly. Like you said, everyone has a purpose. Like, they're not just songs that are inserted because
they're all moving something forward, moving the plot forward, or moving some character development forward. They're all doing something to move the movie forward. It's not just an empty sequence. Like, it's all for some reason. Like, there's something going on with each musical sequence, which, again, some musicals lack that. They just have music for the sake of having music, that doesn't do anything. And yeah, like, I like musicals where every scene has a purpose. Like, something is moving something along, like that's what I dig about this. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Agreed, Malcolm. That one, yeah.
Oh.
And
More spam bots in the chat. Nah, it is what it is.
Yeah. The name, it threw me off for a minute, but yeah, Mary Poppins is great. The musical sequence is, like I said, Julie Andrews is fantastic. I think, like, again, we go to the perfect casting, and it's like Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, and Julie Andrews as Mary Poppins. Like, I think these two got it right, and Dick Van Dyke is fantastic. The kids are great. I love, like, the live action animated sequence. I think that is a lot of fun. Like, that may be my favorite, like, just musical sequence in any movie. Like, it's just a lot of fun. And sometimes that's what I'm looking for in movies, is I just want to have fun.
And I can still sing it to this day. It's a jolly holiday with Mary. It's just, I find myself, even if I think I've forgotten the lyrics, I'll, like, put the movie on and I can, like, jump right in, and, like, and everything just clicks again, like it's in my brain, and there it just comes out, and I find myself just, like, singing and beating along right with it. It's so good. Even the minor characters are fun. The sailors next door, the guys who shoot the cannons, like, a lot of fun. They've got such a fun little dynamic. I love Uncle Alfred, he's the laughing sequence is a lot of fun.
So fun.
It's so fun. Just playing on the ceiling and all that stuff. Like, it's great when they just float up. Like, it's just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I enjoy this. And again, when it needs to be heartbreaking and haunting, it can be. Feed the Birds is a really haunting song, but, like, it kicks it up to another level, when she finally hits it. So I don't like Mary Poppins Returns. Sorry, the less said about the movie, the better. I don't like that movie. Sorry, that's a whole other rant for another day. I don't like that movie.
I didn't hate it, but
I actively, I saw it with the family. I wanted to like it so bad, but I just had a negative reaction to that movie. I just didn't think it had any of the magic that the original one does. It just made me want to go home and watch the original one again. I'm sorry. I didn't think it should have been made in the first place, but that's a whole other rant for another day. Anyways.
Because we like to keep it positive here.
I want to talk about how good Mary Poppins is.
It's fantastic. It's my favorite. It's climbed up since it won my tournament fight. So I was like, I'll rewatch it. And, like, this movie is a lot of fun. A movie that I wouldn't say is fun, but it's definitely entertaining, and it features some really great performances, and that's Django Unchained, which is my number one from your list.
There's still fun I think there's still fun moments in the movie, and it's oddly comedic for a lot of it, even though it's diving into, like, weird stuff. It's actually, like, weirdly funny. Like, it almost plays a lot of the bits as a comedy, because there's stuff like when he's negotiating, like, after he shoots the sheriff, like when King Schultz shoots the sheriff, and he, like, is talking to the marshal. He's like, all right, I'm going to come out with my hands raised. I have removed all my weapons. I'm completely unharmed. And he finally gets out of there and goes, let me remove my warrant. You're to wire, judge, and, whatever, and it ends with him just being like, in fact, Marshal, you owe me $200. Like, the way he's just, like, all that stuff is funny. Django Unchained has just crept up ever since I saw it, and I've rewatched it so many times along with Wolf of Wall Street over the last 10 years that it just, again, gets better every time I watch it. The script just clicks. It's a 2 hour and 45 minutes movie that moves. Like, it moves. I cannot believe how fast we get to Candyland in that movie. Like, it's so fast. And I almost want more time with Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz, but, like, it's so good. So please, no, you have it high up on this list, so talk about it too, please.
I do. It's number one. Because you mentioned earlier that Leo, this should have been his Oscar. Like, and I agree. 100%. Like, I think he gives an outstanding performance as Calvin Candy. I love his interactions with just everybody in this movie. Like, when we first see him and during the slaves fighting, like, and his, oh my goodness, like, I could gush about this performance for hours. Like, this, he gives such a really great performance. Christoph Waltz is great. Jamie Foxx is great. Kerry Washington.
Sam Jackson as Steven is such a great scumbag, and like he's so awesome. He's so underrated in this movie. Like he's so great when he shows up doing his character. Like you can tell he's having a blast doing the character. Like he's having so much fun with this. And yeah, how much he just is like that parrot, on Calvin Candy's shoulder all the time, just parroting everything he says, just like, yeah, that's right. That the show is, like all that stuff is awesome. Yeah, all the characters are amazing. Yeah, it's it works.
And when Leo crushes the glass or whatever, and his hand just gets bloody, and like
he kept going.
Goodness, that scene, he kept going. Like that just shows like how good of an actor he is, and how much how good he can improvise and just on the spot. Like I don't think Leo's ever given the same performance twice. Yeah, no. All of his characters are different, and especially this one. But I don't think he's ever getting the same performance. Over and over again. No, never. There's nothing. I didn't watch Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, oh yeah, I can kind of see like he did that in this movie. No, it's like
no. He doesn't do the same thing that he did in this, that he did in The Revenant, that he does in Catch Me If You Can as Frank Abagnale, that he does in Gangs of New York, that he does in Titanic, that he does in The Aviator. You know what I mean? Like none are the same. Not a single character is the same. None.
Yeah. So like it's hard to pinpoint what my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance is, but I think this one's up there. I think the writing is fantastic. I think the scenery is great.
Why he's my number one actor. He's my favorite actor going today, and I have 2 of his movies in my top 10 for a reason. Like, totally.
He's creeping up there for me. He might even be number 3 at this point. Like he just puts in performance after performance. That is just even if the movie isn't that great, he is.
He's still good. Yeah,
but like everyone in this movie, I think is great. I think you nailed it. The writing is fantastic. The direction from Tarantino is fantastic. Probably would have been my choice for best movie of 2012.
It certainly was for me. Yeah, no, Django Unchained was my favorite movie of 2012. Wolf of Wall Street was my favorite of 2013. Yeah, no,
so
it was my number ones.
I could keep going on about it, but I know you've got to go.
Yeah. Well, we'll start wrapping it up here. Yeah, but this was really fun, man. I'm glad we got to talk about, both of our list of movies. And again, I could gush about, the ones on my list. I know you could gush about the ones on your list for even longer. We could do I could do a whole episode on Tremors or The Mummy or, any of those movies. I could do a whole episode on them. But yeah, we're not going to do that. But yeah, well, let's talk about what we're going to do next time we convene. I mean, we've kind of danced around it, but I think it's the perfect time to do it. Godfather 50th anniversary. We talked the franchise a little bit, and dive in. Yeah,
that was the plan for this week, but unfortunately, like I said,
it's okay because we're still close enough to it. I think it's fine. It's still the 50th anniversary. We're still in the 50th anniversary, so it's fine. Yes. I'm excited. Yeah, I definitely want to talk these movies again. I love the Godfather pieces. It's in my 64. I know, people like Jordan and some of those guys are not as high on it, but hopefully maybe in our discussion, maybe we can bring some enlightenment, to why these movies are great and kind of talking about them. We want to talk about all 3 of them. So that's what we're going to try to do. I know you said you have not seen the 3rd one, right? So it'll be the first time.
I will be watching it this week. I have the first 2. They're in my top 50. I go back and forth on which one I like more. So I have them at.
We can talk about that.
I have them at 51 and 50 right now. So they're really great movies.
Well, I'd be interested to hear what you think of the 3rd one. I think personally, it's still a good movie. Is it on the level as the 2? Maybe not, but I still think it gets kind of unfairly maligned sometimes. I still think it's a really good movie, and so we'll definitely talk about that. And when we talk about that movie, we'll talk about them in order, talk about the franchise as a whole. But yeah, I'm excited even just to sit down and rewatch these movies again. And I've seen them, I've seen the first Godfather a lot, but yeah, it's always a pleasure to whip out my Blu-rays and watch them again. Actually, they're showing it in theaters not this tomorrow, but next Sunday, it's going to be in theaters. So we'll probably go live. Godfather's that good though. Taking it Back to the Future, I get it. because it's damn good. But yeah, like we might talk about it, and then I might go the next day and watch The Godfather in the theater. You know what I mean? Like I'm totally down with that. Even if I rewatch it again this week, like I have seen it on the big screen. Actually, I've seen the first two on the big screen. I have seen the first two on the big screen. I saw them in a Cinemark screening on the XD screen, so the really big screen, good sound. Yeah, I got to see those a few years back. But yeah, like always pleasure to sit down and check these out. Yeah, we'll definitely it'll probably be a long episode because I want to talk about these movies. So just be prepared. It'll probably be another 2-hour episode just talking about three movies this time, not even 20 movies, talking about 3 movies. Yeah, so because we're gonna dive in, but I think it'll be a good time. We'll dive into it and prep for those and yeah, we'll talk about Godfather 3. Is it as bad, as people say it is, or not? We'll talk about that. Godfather, which one or two? Which one do we prefer? Or go back to? We'll talk about that. And yeah, the legacy of these movies and how they hold up 50 years later. So we'll talk about it.
It's gonna be a great discussion for sure. So real quick, why don't you tell people what's coming next for you? As far as your stuff.
Okay, so yeah, obviously here on the Movie Hero Network, you can check out everything we've got going on here, with Jordan, in the comments. So Tier Rank Vice Tournament Fights, and yeah, I do Let's Rank stuff with Henry Confidential over on that channel. This week we'll be doing Paul Thomas Anderson to kind of tie in with the Oscars. So we'll be ranking the Paul Thomas Anderson filmography. So I got a lot of long movies I got to watch this week. It's a good thing I'm on vacation this week and I don't have to work. So I'm on a staycation this week, other than one night on Wednesday night where I'm going to AEW, but it's a good thing because I got a lot of 2.5-hour movies in my future this week between all of Paul Thomas Anderson's 2.5-hour movies and a couple of 3-hour movies of The Godfather. So it's a good thing I've got a lot of time on my hands this week and I don't have to work. So it kind of works out that way. So yeah, but I'm still excited to watch all this stuff. So yeah, we'll be ranking Paul PTA to kind of tie in with. Obviously, he's nominated for Licorice Pizza, both directing and Best Picture, which I'm going to see tomorrow. I've not seen it, but they've been re-releasing the Oscar movies, and tomorrow's the last day, so I have to catch it tomorrow. Otherwise, I can't rank it. Yeah. So I'll be seeing it at noon tomorrow. So that's what we're doing this week to kind of tie in with the Oscars. We'll be doing some PTA.
Cool.
So, yeah, over there.
Yeah, I still need to watch Licorice Pizza. It's one that I'm trying to watch all the Best Picture nominees.
I was hoping it was going to be on digital by now because it's been out for a while, but it's not. So I have to go to the theater and go watch it tomorrow with the Regal. So I'm going to go see it.
Well, yeah. I think it's available on Prime.
I'll have to look and see. I'd rather stay home and watch it tomorrow and pace it. Otherwise, I'll have to go to the theater and catch literally the last showing tomorrow at noon. So that's what I'm going to have to do. But I'll look into it and see.
Because that's what I was going to do. I was going to rent it on Prime and watch it instead of going to a theater.
Yeah.
My snacks are cheaper.
Yeah, right. I could sit around and drink a light beer at my house and snack on almonds, which is what I've been trying to do instead of peanut, instead of M&Ms. But yeah. So yeah, so that's what I've got going on. You've got a podcast about wrestling. You guys had a new episode this week, so go check that out.
So we just did a new episode on Thursday. We're going to be doing a little bit of a late episode this upcoming week. We're going to do it on Wednesday, 9 my time, which is midnight Eastern, because Tournament Fights got rescheduled to Thursday. They took our time, whatever. It's fine. It's for the channel, I guess. But what we will be doing is we'll be doing, instead of the cliche top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time, because that's what everyone does, we're going to be building our dream WrestleMania card. And so the caveats that we have in place is you can only use a superstar once. You can only have one title, like the IC title, WWE title. You can only use those once.
Right.
Your opening match has to have been an opening match
match. So they have to basically be in the same place on the card that they were in the past, like essentially, like throughout the whole thing. Is there a limit on the matches? How many are you going to do? Like 10 matches?
We're gonna do 10, and I think we're going to do like a kickoff. So like a 1 or 2 but those matches had to have happened on the kickoff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, then your main event had to have been a main event, but your middle matches, like so your 2 through 9, like we're being a little lenient on that. Like you can place them where you want to, because some Manias had 14 matches. So if you wanted to use match number 13,
some Manias had 2 nights of action
Yeah, like the one that's upcoming next weekend, Will.
Right.
And so, yeah, we'll be doing that, and we'll also be doing our WrestleMania predictions because that's always fun to do.
Well, maybe I will jump into the comments like I did this past week and play along, and maybe let you know what mine would be. As you guys go too. Maybe I'll play because I want to look into this and play along a little bit. So yeah, you guys do your thing, and I'll jump into the comments and say what my opening would be and my second, all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll play along a little bit.
And that's if you can watch live because we will be doing it on Wednesday when you're
well, that's
AEW,
why.
So.
Oh, that's right. Well, it'll be at midnight. I'll be back at the hotel. Maybe we'll see. But that's why it's important also to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel so you know when we go live. That's right.
Smash it.
Subscribe and bell.
Yeah. And then also just a real quick on Monday, I will be hosting trivia over on Jordan Owen's channel. So check that out as well. That's what we got. Subscribe to the channel. Check out Austin everywhere he is because he does some good stuff. And then, you know what? Keep talking about movies.